Shalom Aleichem to everybody. Number one, sponsorship for Gamzuli, a dating app. And Be'ezras Hashem, it's really something special what Reb Aryeh Matisyahu is doing, Reb Matt, and it should go from strength to strength. And as well, Chazdei Hashem, we had another sponsorship today. The sponsorship is for the birthday of my beautiful little nephew, Tzvi Yechiel Yeshua Ben Chana Miriam. Be'ezras Hashem, him and the whole family, they should have bracha, mazel, and hatzlacha. Plenty of simchas hachaim, yishuv hadas, harchavas hadas, menuchas hanefesh, and all more, many more things, and for all of us, Be'ezras Hashem. Okay, just to start by Be'ezras Hashem, the practice of change and transitioning, which is a big inyan today, a very big inyan in our avodah that we are lacking, and we need really to open it up. This nakuda of change and transitioning. Change is natural. Transitioning is our internal keeping up with that change. And what we want is to have and cultivate the ability to create a way of living that is healthy. Externally, it's healthy, and internally, it's healthy as well. And I'm editing right now, or we're starting to edit. I wrote a book a number of years ago, and it's shifts in our consciousness as we transition. So we spoke about right at the beginning of these shiurim that when we are speaking about Yiddishkeit, we have the Yiddishkeit of Torah, Avodah, Gimulus, Chasadim. There's the Yiddishkeit of halachas. There's the Yiddishkeit of the do's and the don'ts. And for most people that I speak to who are challenged by it, it's because, on a certain respect, they've forgotten the background to the foreground. The foreground of Torah, Avodah, Gimulus, Chasadim, the foreground of connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the terms of the do's and the don'ts, in the terms of the halachas, are coming from a background of a healthy, centered person. So, for example, we have words in Yiddishkeit such as Menuchas HaNefesh. We have words in Yiddishkeit such as Yishuv Hadas. Now the question is, are they just words that we use in our lexicon, or realistically, are they words that are connected to experiences? So as we know in our Beis HaMedrash, these are words connected to experiences. And if we don't learn about the background, the foreground can become incredibly dry. The foreground of Torah, Avodah, Gimulus, Chasadim can become difficult. So much so, people feel, I can't cope with this, I can't do this. And it's interesting, I speak to a lot of people, I don't know if you've experienced this, and especially where you grew up, and as well, I don't know if you, in your journey, you experienced this, coming from a world where you're around people who are showing Torah mitzvahs. Did you experience people actually not sticking to it because they felt asphyxiated? And did you ever find, coming from a world of having the availability to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want within the law, and then keeping Torah mitzvahs is not always straightforward? I don't know. Did you ever experience that? Like the difficulty of keeping mitzvahs. I have to do this, I have to do that.
No, it's easier because since we chose it.
See, that's the big.
Easier.
So that's to do with das. Das is choosing.
Yeah.
That's exactly it's to do with das.
It wasn't a place of das. It was a place that you have to because you have to do it. It's like
You have to because you have to do it. Yeah.
The laws of Medina, you have the laws of Torah. What's the difference?
So Mistama though as well, Baruch Hashem, you've come from a healthy background, which as well makes a difference. You've come from a world, Baruch Hashem, your parents and the Masorah that you have as well, that makes a difference. But you chose it. That choosing, that's an akuda of where we are wanting to come from, to choose to become a balas das and have the availability to get to know yourself. So coming back to this book speaks about the shifts that we should learn about in order to create healthy transitioning. And I'm going to say some words, and just to note, the words are less important, and the experience, it takes time to learn about it, but to do it takes moments. So you have das, first of all, to become self-aware. When I'm transitioning, to become self-aware. This is environmental awareness and self-awareness. That's das tachtoim pnimin chitzoni. Number two is then seichel. I use, what am I going to do now? It's the next shift. What am I going to do? What do I want to do now? The third shift is kavana. I want to do this. The fourth shift is this true? Emes, is this true? And then simcha shel mitzvah. Mitzvah with simcha, that, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. And we're using mitzvah not in the terms of 613 mitzvahs, but in terms of just connection. Mitzvah means to connect. And mem tzadi, take out the mem tzadi, but atbash it's yud hey. So you have mitzvah, which is yud hey vav hey. So it's a connection. So tachlis is what happens. We've got the change. The change is happening. The transitioning is the internal catching up. What is that? Sadas. Okay. Hi. Awareness. External, internal. Question. What am I going to do? That's seichel. The Maggid of Mezrich writes that seichel is a tool for das. All it does, our seichel asks questions. Number 3, kavana. Okay, how do I want to focus now? 4, is it right? MS. 5, maisa b'simcha. And you do it, you learn to do it, mamash, quickly, but it's so powerful that you could move, you can transition healthily. And as we mentioned, when we transition from our changes and we are aware of it, your life improves. You hear that? Your life improves, kipshutai. Your life improves. So one day we'll print amongst the other many books that we hopefully will print. We have one of the editors here. God bless her and her husband. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Have a karasat for them every day. Because whatever we put out in PDF, I was talking, it's interesting, I was talking yesterday to my brother Rabbi Yonah, and he said this a number of times before, but I never heard it. He said to me, and I'm just paraphrasing what he said to me that I know for you that the knowledge and the information and the wisdom teachings are important. They are important, but they are less important than dedication and turning up.
Dedication?
They are less important than the dedication and somebody turning up. So what's more important to you? Turn up. It's the dedication and turn up. What obviously comes with that, you're dedicated, you turn up, then these wisdom teachings become far more powerful. So it's a very interesting nakuda. So change and transition is just giving yourself the permission to be dedicated and to turn up. So okay, so where are we up to? So last week, in our little kuntras here, little kuntras with big ideas. So we went through the starting of a natural wisdom, we did a chazara over that, and we went through who am I? And some of the key points that we brought up is just to ask the way I was asked, who am I? Who am I? And we went into this reality, have I been told I am something? And if I do think about it, have I been told I am something? And the answer that comes up actually is from somebody else. So for example, if I really stop to think about who am I, would I say something different than what my parents, what my teachers told me? Don't know. It's a thought experiment. And the other question is a very important question. If I can be aware of it, I'm not it. Which these two work together. That's the honest truth, because if I could be aware of something, I'm not that something. So that should give you insight into at least a direction and how you can come to know a little bit more who you are and who you are not. And I don't know if I mentioned this last week. Let me know if I mentioned this last week. But there's a thought experiment that one of my teachers asked me to play with. Rav Shapira, he said, sit down and ask yourself the question, who am I? And notice what comes up. Notice what comes up. Do answers, the internal narrative come up when you ask that question that are giving you insight? And just ask the question, who am I? Notice what goes on.
If I could just add on that.
Please.
Asking who am I, doesn't it seem like the natural response are more like adjectives that come out?
I'm putting my hands up. We'll have to wait and see. Do the exercise, and then we can have... By the way, this is Nasa v'nishma. We're coming to Shavuos. This is Nasa v'nishma, the 80-20 rule. 80% action, 20% thinking. Because you are 100% right. It could be, but until you actually dedicate yourself and invest, it's a different world. So this nakuda, who am I? And then what we went through was this very very quick self-reflection. I think I mentioned to you, I was sitting in London, I was preparing, I was Zoicha. Before I came to Eretz Yisrael, one of my teachers said I should do a Siyum Hashas. I think it was Biala Rebbe, and Baruch Shem, I was Zoicha. Before I moved to Eretz Yisrael, I did a Siyum Hashas. And as I was preparing for the Siyum Hashas, this, I would call it, if we want, for just, for now, a spiritual experience enveloped me. And what was that spiritual experience? Is that as I had been listening to my teachers, what they said did something to me in that moment. Something was triggered, and we went through this process. Okay, and I will just read the last part as we go into the next stage. Just the last part. So this is on page 12 in the edition I have. Hopefully, Be'ezras Hashem, soon everyone will have the same kuntras with the same page numbers. So I just want to read this quickly and then go weiter. So what my mentors shared with me and just asked me to think about and reflect upon was that there is a reality that all human beings experience, a reality that is the same for all of us in how we experience this world. We all share the same mechanisms through which we perceive our experiences as human beings. And the more we understand this model, the greater probability we have to living a fuller, healthier, more engaged life. We all have a body, and within the body we experience physiological sensations. Some of them are temperature, tension, and pressure. So we can be aware of these physical sensations. And we may say, we are not them. So, number one, physical sensations. I'm not them. And in regards to the thought experience, the thought experiment we did on the previous page, we started with the outside. I'm not you, you're not me. I'm not the table. Table's not me. I'm not the fan. The fan is not me. I'm not the phone. Phone is not me. That I get. But then we go subtly more inside. And we realize, wow, my physical sensations are not me. Okay, we have to now investigate, well, what does that mean to me that they're not me? Okay, different question. But first to ascertain what I am not. And remember, this is based on what we call a reverse theology. There's better names for it. But knowing what something isn't, the probability it will lend its way to figure out what something is, which is logical sequentially. And that's what we want here. We want to try and show very, very, using these terms, logic and rationale, who we are in an architecture of the soul, to know ourselves, to know how we work, for the outcome of living a better life, a better, more wholesome life. That's what we want. Further, we all experience emotions. And there's a range of emotions, feeling good and not good and everything in between, happiness, joy, excitement, peaceful, and also sadness and downers, stress, anxiety. We could be aware of them and we could say, we are not them. And our range of thinking is constantly apparent and appearing to us. And our thinking is expressing itself in imagery and sound. All of that thinking, all of that internal dialogue, the comments that are made to us internally, and the conversations that we have with ourselves, all of those inner voices we are hearing, the profound reality is, if I'm aware of it, I'm not those aspects of my experience. And that's very, very important to understand. Al-Pi Kabbalah, the nefesh, this is all happening within the nefesh self, which we'll see where this goes, but over the next number of months, maybe we will get there. But this is all happening in the nefesh. And in the nefesh, we have really what's called the lower sfirot of Hod, Netzach, and Yisod. And I'm saying it in that order for a specific reason, not for now. Hod is what we will end up calling Hirhurim, which is our fleeting thoughts. Netzach is what we will end up calling our emotions. And Yisod is our physical sensations. And I could be aware of that. I can be aware of that. The natural consequences, as I become more aware, number one, there's a healing in the language of the Baal Shem Tov, Hachnan, Havdalah. Then Hamtaka, I could start to reintegrate. But more than that, my nefesh, all my nefesh wants to do is help me. And really, based on the writings of the Ramchal, our nefesh is always helping us. It may not appear like that, but our nefesh, our thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations, even if a person's getting angry and annoyed, behind that there's a positive intention. We have to become more mature and connect to our higher self. But the natural consequence of awareness leads, it seems, to a natural starting point of healing, and all of the nefesh starts to soften from that which is harmful, and it becomes more helpful. And we become more aware of that helpfulness as things calm. Okay, so we're about to start the next chapter, and yes?
Very quickly, so we're going to elaborate a little bit on this holy thought that I'm feeling.
Not now. Not now. I don't want to stay away from, I want to stay away from the Makairis right now. Shalom וברכה. אתה מחפש בסדר, בכבוד. Baruch Hashem. Tov. So now, next chapter. More about the three modes of experience. Rabbi Yaakov, can you help this yid? I don't have another kuntras right now. But here, but I don't know what page we are on. The title is more about our three modes of experience. Okay, I don't have another kuntras. Oh, I sent it to you. You have it. The journey begins. Oh, we're good, Rabbi Yaakov, we're good. You have it on your phone as well, maybe. Okay, fine. So about the three modes of experience. When we start hearing these ideas, they may be foreign and unusual to us. When no one has guided us to at least reflect upon who the true self is, it may seem self-evident that I am my thoughts, I am my feelings, and I am my physical sensations. When I'm hurting or self-critical, it seems very real. The truth is, in one dimension, it is very, very real, because that's where I am in that moment, or at that moment. We can also say that in another dimension, this experience is a communication between the environment and my consciousness. So, do you remember we mentioned that for das, for consciousness and neshama to come down into this world, there needs to be a suit, a bodysuit. We call it a bodysuit. And this bodysuit holds the neshama and holds consciousness. And as we know from Maimah Chazal, the Gemara Nida, and many other Maimah Chazal, in the place from where we come from, there's a completely different way of functioning, a completely different way of experience. So for example, we're told, Daf Lamed, Nida, that we see from one end of the world to the other end of the world. Other Maimah Chazal as well come to share this, like Adam Arishon and Gan Eden. And then, because we haven't trained in martial arts, when we come down into this world, the malach hits us, gives us a poke. You know, if we were trained, we'd be able to parry it. But okay. So what happens is I come down. Thank you for finding it funny. So what happens is that when we come to this world, we lose that sense of grandeur. We lose that sense of wow, the sense of majesty. We lose it in mamash a moment. And until somebody guides us, until somebody shows us what is stronger than the world of das and the world of the spirit, is physicality. Is physicality. And physicality envelops us. And before we know it, we think we are a creature of this world. We think we are a creature of this world. And maybe that's the reason why the Baal Shem Tov in Savas Rivash, Vav, he writes so clearly that we have to view ourselves as aliens in this world. Because we are neshama and we are das, and the bodysuit that we've been speaking about is a kind vessel that's being given to us by the cause of all causes, and we have to care for it. So if you look, for example, Hilchas Deis Perek Gimel, Halachas Aleph, Beis, and Gimel, says very clearly that what we want, and the Rambam as well, Halacha Beis is speaking out, Mar Nevuchim, Chelek Gimel, where he speaks about this Nakuda of the Guf and what the Guf is for. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this gift of the Guf. And when we understand that the guf is a gift to hold consciousness and neshama, and we have to keep it healthy to the best of our abilities, look after our bodies to the best of our abilities. This is found in Rabbi Gerzi's physical health, with many hundreds of makoros showing this, halacha all the way through to sod. When we understand this, and this is to do as well the last leg of our journey, we see today people in the world, people are going crazy to try and reconnect to the guf, because what's happened over the years, we've been in exile, and in the world of healing, there's meant to be an unfolding, hishtalshus, chabad to chagat, chagat to nehim. And what's happened is that we've been, so to speak, frozen. We've been frozen. That the intellect and the mind and the spirit and even some of our emotional worlds, they've been frozen. And we're in a trauma state, and the connection to our body has diminished tremendously over the years. And now there's an orientation to awaken that, because our guf is a kli, and when the kli is not where it should be, the kli is not how it should be, for sure that's going to impact my spirituality, my ruchnius. So there needs to be this connection between the different parts of the souls coming down into the body and the body's tools. And we know, for example, when we are drinking properly, breathing properly, sleeping properly, when we are moving and eating properly, as we know, Ar Me'ir Parshas Kisavai, what we eat becomes us. What we eat becomes our thinking. So yes, there's a direct connection between physiologically how we live and our ability to achieve levels of consciousness, thereby having the qualitative ability to listen to the message of the soul. The message of the soul. So typically what you will find is somebody who is healthy. I'll give you an example. There's a yid who is going through a smicha right now. He's taking a smicha with the Rabbanot. And he's pounding away, he's doing chazara of Yeridea, chazara, and he's exhausted. I spoke to him yesterday, he's exhausted. I said, do me a favor to do you a favor. Go for a run. Go for a run. Go for a run. He went for an hour run, he came back. The quality in which he did his chazara was tenfold. The ability to memorize what he was doing chazara on was tenfold. And that's something really important to understand. And we're in a generation, and this is the last leg of our avodah. The last leg of our avodah is we're a mad rush to excavate, gather, and elevate all the Nitzaisis Kedusha in order to come to the end. Adam Rishon, as we know, ate from the tree. Adam and Chava, they ate from the tree. There was a shattering, and that shattering produced a reality where now the Olam HaBa Gan Eden reality fractured into Olam and Neshamais and Olam Hazeh. There's this disconnect, and eventually it will come back to what we will label Olam HaBa. And we are the weavers. We, the human beings, we are the weavers. Because why? We are the remnants of Adam and Chava in Gan Eden. We have a body and we have a soul. We are the remnants of that. And through our interaction with the world, and again, there's 4 paradigms to relationship. Our relationship with the physical world, our relationship to other people, our relationship to ourselves, and our relationship to divine intelligence. So the more I can tether and know myself, HaKadosh Baruch Hu and myself, I'm in good relationship, that's going to help me heal. Naran, neshama, ruach, and nefesh. The more, again, I know how I work, I'm going to be a merkava for divine light, I'm going to heal. That's going to improve my relationship with other people, that's going to improve my relationship with the world. I become a weaver. So when we say we're a Schneider, a tailor, it really means that. This is one of the deeper ideas of the Sandlar, that as he was fixing up the shoes, he was being meyached yichudim, because we are all weavers. Everybody has their shine. And this is incredibly important to remember. So let's just read the last sentence here, the last couple of sentences. And that is, we can also say in another dimension, this experience is a communication between the environment and consciousness. Again, what we just said is that as I'm born into this world, what was meant to always be slightly foreign and unusual we're talking about the teachings, but just being born into this world should have been foreign and unusual, becomes incredibly familiar, and we believe we are it. I believe I am my thoughts, feelings, and physical sensation. And again, on one dimension, it is true, because wherever I am, that's where I am, that's who I am. But on another dimension, again, it's a communication between the environment and my consciousness. So now let's go weiter. My physical sensations are communicating with me. As I touch something hot or cold, my physical sensations are letting me know that information. What I'm doing with that information after receiving that message from my physical body is up to me. My emotions are communicating to me. When the environment is safe and secure and comfortable, I may feel content and happy. And this is communicating to me that all things are good. What I then do with that information after having received that information is up to me. My thinking is communicating with me. As I process and judge my environment, all of those internal voices, whatever they may be, are sharing and communicating with me. And as I observe them, what I do with them is up to me. There's a lot going on here. Let's go weiter. By asking what I can do or what I want to do, I've started to achieve the paradigm of being aware and being able to make conscious choices rather than only reactionary choices. Yes?
Can the Rub tie this back into the shifts where I was listening to the beginning of we're saying my physical sensations, my emotions, all these things are communicating to us. Recognizing that we does have own observation of what's going on, either inside or outside. And then when it says, by asking what I can do or what I want to do, is that shifting to the next level, that kavana?
Yes. So you have, okay, let's just plug it back in. Das is I'm now aware. Das is I'm aware. I'm aware externally of my environment, I'm aware internally. From Das, you have Seichel. Seichel and Kavana work together. What do I now want to do? Now that I've become aware, how do I want to relate to that which is happening? How do I want to relate to that which is happening? So we're speaking here, again, without sources. We're speaking about experience. You've just thrown in a question which is relating to what we said before. So I become self-aware. I become self-aware of my environment. My environment is communicating to me. The question is, typically, for a lot of people in the world of sleep state, when I'm less conscious, I just react without thinking. I just do. My thoughts are telling me what to do. So my thoughts tell me, get up in the morning, open my eyes, I open my eyes. Get out of bed. Now go wash my hands. Now put my clothes on. My thoughts are always guiding me, whether I'm conscious of it or not conscious of it. And the question is, where are my thoughts leading me? Are my thoughts leading me to an upgraded life? So I've got this internal narrative going on. But then what happens, this is ABCDs of Avodas Hashem, Tikkun Hamidos. I'm constantly upgrading, especially in the world of Chabad. In the world of Chabad, there was Kuntresim that were written specifically about this process. Kuntrus Avodah, Kuntrus Atfilah. So we have it on the table over here. We have it with Baruch Hashem, we were learning it a few years ago in the base of Medrash, Kuntrus Atfilah, Kuntrus Ha'avodah. And it's upgrading your nefesh. So your autopilot is of a higher quality. Your autopilot is leading you constantly to live a better life. But there's a programmable part to us that we want to be able to know how it works in order to upgrade and program. We want to program ourselves to be a merkava to mekabel the shefa, and we want that merkava, we want the guf and all the tools within the guf to live an absolutely exquisite life. We mentioned in the Chabura, where was it from? Rama Mipano. It's a side note in the Rama Mipano, one of the teachings there. It's better to live a life of love, and it's not as good to live a life of violence and hatred. Why? Because when you live a life of love, Tachlis, everybody, it's a win-win situation. Love with its proper dimensions of proper boundaries, which really, in our language, we call this Abrahamic vision. I don't know the outcome. I know the ingredients to come to a good outcome. That's caring, sharing, supporting, and encouraging with good, firm boundaries. Caring, sharing, supporting, and encouraging with good, firm boundaries. Just throw in there, which I don't think we've mentioned before, Bereshit Shemot Vayikra Bamidbar. Devarim is a union of all, and Sefer Yoshua, which is based on the Gemara in the Nedarim Kaf Bet, that there's the 5 books of Moses and just the 5 books of Moses and Sefer Yoshua. Sefer Yoshua is about the boundaries. You can't have love without the boundaries. So I don't know what Geula is going to look like. I really don't. I don't know how it's going to be. We've got bits and pieces that come and share with us. Most people want Geula and they don't know what they're going to do when the Geula comes. You know, if somebody is nervous, it's interesting. I was speaking to somebody yesterday. If somebody is nervous that AI is going to take over their job, they are as well nervous for when the Geula is going to come. What we have to do is to take responsibility in our growth. In our growth. I'll tell you why this happened. I've got audio recordings from when the first draft of this was written up 2 years ago. We did this about 2 years ago. So about 2-3 years ago, the first draft of The Journey Begins. And I've got audio, I've recorded the whole Kitzur B'derech HaAvodah, I have it all in audios. And so there's a Yid that's listening, he's listened to it maybe 12, 13 times already. And he calls me up and we were speaking about this Nakuda of not knowing like what we're going to do. If I'm scared of AI, what's going to be when the Geula comes? You hear what I'm saying here? You hear? So I remember speaking to Rabbi Sachs many years ago. So Rabbi Sachs, he told me in NASA, he said to me, this isn't a new problem, it's an old problem. He told me that I think it was a book he read, I can't remember, it was something that he read, and it was about, in the 1960s, I don't know the exact year, 1960, 1961, there was the race to get to space. When did they put somebody in space? 1961? It's about 1960, I don't think it was before then and I don't think it was after that. And Russia put somebody into space and they orbited, and then America put somebody into space and they orbited a few times. Okay, who did the background information on this? So he told me this story, and he shared the Musa Heskel here. So he said that there was 1960s in America, unfortunately, you know, black people were still sitting on the back of buses, and you couldn't share the same bathrooms. There was still this tremendous segregation. And in NASA, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but in NASA there was a black lady she was managing a team. You know this? Yeah, she was managing a team. And she was a smart cookie, and she managed her team very well. And at that point in time, that year, they brought in like an IBM computer that took over the whole room. And Tachlis is that somebody said, look, they're bringing in the IBM computer, and in a few months, none of us are going to have jobs. So she went to a library, and whatever book she could get, she got information on coding. And no one was looking. She goes into this room where this big computer is. She's standing there looking at it. She opens up her coding book, and lo and behold, with a very short amount of time, where other people couldn't figure out, they kept on making these mistakes, they couldn't figure out what to do. She walked in, and she looks at this, and she thinks to herself, and within a short amount of time, she starts to master how this bigger computer works, this IBM works. And lo and behold, she ends up being the manager, and she has this team that were going to be fired. She shared with them more coding. So the point is she said, we have to take the initiative. I know this is in front of me, so I have to start thinking about what will be when this occurs. And that was 1960s. So when I was speaking to Rabbi Sachs was saying, we have to ask the same question. It's not old. It's not new, it's old. It's not, people are asking now, oh, my jobs are going to be take over, this, that. Ask questions. What are you going to do when the Geula comes? And when we understand who we are, and when we understand what we are not, and we understand that we can program ourselves. So already this is something very, very important to understand as we are threading towards Geula. And the problem is, I think a lot of people haven't deeply thought about that, because we're caught up in, especially in Eretz Yisrael, chinuch. We're caught up in the world of Parnasa. We're caught up in this world and that world, and that's very real for us. What do I do? How do I? That's very real. And we are meant to spend some time having these higher level conversations. We are. To note when this mergent process has occurred and we come to what we now call Olam HaBa, the 7,000th year, leading in, as we know from the Mekubalim, the 8th, 9th, 10,000 year, what am I going to be doing and how am I going to be doing it? And do I recognize that I have these tremendous tools in front of me? They're tools. All of these are tools. So what we are saying here is that we are the weavers. And that I have physical sensations, emotions, and my thinking. And they are the tools of the bodysuit. And they communicate what's going on in the outside world to my inside paradigm. And my duty is to be a merkava, to megale HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light in the world. And through owning how I work, I can constantly be upgrading, and I could be a better machine, if I can use that term. I could be a better machine, a wholesome machine, with the non-machinery part of me, to make this world a more beautiful place. And how does that start? Again, by making my life more beautiful. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants for us and from us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us and for us to make our life more beautiful with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then from there, having the availability to then meet the world around me and meet other people and make all of that dramatically beautiful as well. Going back to the text. By asking what I can do or what I want to do, I've started to achieve the paradigm of being aware and being able to make conscious choices rather than only reactionary choices. As I'm writing this, everything is slowing down. And I am so much more aware than a few moments ago. Where my mentors are guiding me to experience the space that's always been there. Be there between the trigger and the reaction. So let me read that again, I apologize. Where my mentors are guiding me is to experience the space that's always been there, between the trigger and reaction. So in Lashon HaKodesh, this is called Hisayrus and Dachav. Hisayrus and Dachav. There is an awakening, and then there is a jumping. Hisayrus is a trigger. Hisayrus is a trigger, and then you have a reaction. You have a stimulus, and then a response. In the world of Nefesh, we're taking in information. That information does something to us inside. So something has been awakened inside. And now the question is, do I non-consciously, in an unhealthy way, just respond? So is there just a hisayrus and a dachav based on what I think, feel, and physically sense? So there's a trigger, there's a stimulus, and I'm non-conscious about how I work, so I just act. I just jump on it? Or can I now, through becoming more conscious and aware, can I now become aware that actually, wow, there is an internal gap. So there is a stimulus, there is a trigger, but I could think about how I'm feeling inside. I can come to notice, to become aware of how I'm feeling inside. And from there, act maybe differently. So yes. Dachav. To jump. To push. Sorry, dachav, to push. Yeah. I think it's to push. Hisayrus and dachav. I jump on it, I push. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Is it still called dachav when it's done consciously?
Yes.
It sounds very
Yes, it's always called that. But the question is it chosen? There's always a hisayrus and a dachav. That's how the human experience works. I push like forward. But the question is, that pushing forward, where is it coming from?
On a collective level, when this current war started, that was seemingly a dachav, where everyone was sort of just being forced into a different...
Well, there was a hisairus. Then there was our own coding of the experience. And now the question is, how am I relating and reacting to the experience? How am I now relating? So there's a hisairus, processing in nefesh, and whatever level of processing happens is dependent on how conscious I am, and then the outcome. Can you get in the box, I think just on the left-hand side, you've got the picture book, Fischer Luzer, Architecture of the Soul. I think it's just inside, you'll find there's like a box of them. If you can't find it, terrible. Okay. So, this is not difficult, however it is different. We'll go back to that in a minute. It seems strange, yet there's a rationale to it. Again, remember, this is my processing. It seems strange, yet there's a rationale to it, and it is very resonant from a deeper part of self. This leaves me with questions. What does this paradigm shift do for me? Is it helpful for me? The right-hand side, not left if I said left. Can I improve my interactions with myself and the world around me? And how do I get into this more essential self? This is really, really important, and we have to share this time and time and time again, that in the world that we live in, we use a term difficult. If I can't understand something, it's difficult. I use a slightly different term. I can't remember where it came from. It's not difficult, it's different. It's a different way of processing. And it's not difficult because this is how we actually act. And what I recognized in my own experience of this is the more I just heard this language, the more I heard it. And this is what we said, dedication. It's dedication. Dedication makes the difference. It's not about the knowledge. The knowledge is secondary to the dedication. If you turn up what I believe, and again, as I said from the beginning, you will judge this for yourself. But what I believe is that you will come on whatever level to appreciate this. So, I mean, let me ask you, do you find this to be, the words I'm saying, is it true? Yeah? Reb Simcha Yosef.
Yeah.
You found it?
No.
It's in a box, maybe a box underneath. Right hand side.
We can walk in the right hand side.
Okay, yeah, right hand side in the box. Can I ask you a question? You've just walked in, so you're a very good dugma. Just by being around and hearing these wisdom teachings, it affects you?
When I remember it, it affects me. It definitely affects me, yes. It definitely affects me. When I'm in a place of calmness or when I'm triggered and totally overwhelmed, then it's all gone out the window. Yes, let me just add another dimension. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. When a person's in katnus, but you remember that I'm relating to my thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. So you're not in godless, but you just have a state of das. I'm relating to my nefesh. Does that happen? And when and if that does happen, what's that like? It does happen. It depends how extreme the katnus is. It depends how far my das is lost.
Okay.
That thought.
Leave it. Come back in. Leave it, Chavra. Okay. Yes.
Because the thought is often a thought. I'll realize that I'm in a state of katnus. I realize that there are thoughts going through my head that are triggering me, and then I'm stuck in relating to the thoughts, relating to the emotions. Yet there's if the trigger is really serious or brings me to a really challenging place, then there's a counter thought of fighting it is to stay in it and not allow the das not to come out because there's something serious going on. I have to stay in it. So it itself is partially das.
$5.
Like,
So I think there's like three stages here. There's three stages here that we're speaking about, and that is, number one, if I'm stuck in my consciousness. That's number one. If my consciousness is stuck in my nefesh, we use the language, if my das is stuck in my nefesh. And if my das is stuck in my nefesh, I'm off. But then there's this first stage, which I want to clarify something very important. I can be aware I'm relating to my nefesh in the present moment. Now, when you are relating to your nefesh in the present moment, you still can feel icky. You could still be owned by your thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. This is very, very, very important just to understand. So I'm in a state, I'm awareness, I'm aware. So for example, some of you have seen this before. So nefesh, you've got this?
no.
No? Okay. If you're good, Reb Simcha Yosef will get you one. So if you look at this, you've got the bottom circle, is my finger near it?
Yes.
The little circle, which is called nefesh, with three circles. And I'm just reading out, the human experience, nefesh, is made up of what we call midos klali, physical sensations, fleeting thoughts, and emotions. So you have here thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. Sometimes a picture helps. Okay, then what happens, just to understand where we are, is that there's typically we have a stimulus and a response. We have a stimulus and response. So between the stimulus and response, something is happening. Between the stimulus and response, the nefesh is aroused. And we use the general term nefesh, and again, the Hod, Netzach, and Yesod, the general three sfirot, thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations, they are our memories, they are our expectations and assumptions. So that processing is going on, whether conscious or subconscious, and there's many layers deep to it. There's many layers deep. So if a person's angry, it's because there's something underneath that anger, and there's something underneath what is underneath that anger, and there's something underneath. And what happens when you do, for example, an avodah of allowing yourself to drop down into the anger, drop down under the anger, which may be fear, drop down under the fear, which may be, being judged, whatever it may be, eventually you
Express it and to the point of expression?
You just drop into it. You drop into it. Under anger is usually, you can have guilt. Under guilt, you have anger. Usually there's a pattern, a general pattern. So I'm not speaking specifically about the prate pratim within the nefesh. I'm speaking about a midah, which is made up of all of these three, thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. So we've got this general reality where, let's let go of the names for a minute. But I'm triggered, something happens in the environment, then something goes on inside. That first level of something going on inside is not it. There's always usually something more behind it. And especially that we've been compounded in our life with experiences until we've become more enlightened. And more than that, something which is really important that people forget. Our body, and it sounds odd, our body, our immune system, our nervous system, is it new or is it thousands and thousands of years old? Our whole system is thousands of years old. We're holding DNA, ancestry. I came from somewhere. I've got that somewhere in me. So as the Arizal writes in the beginning of Shar Kavanas, and as well in Pesach, Drush Aleph, that we are holding multi-generational midas. We're holding multi-generational midas. And the more I work on myself, that's passed down from generation to generation. So for example, the house of Kamana Chassidus, they're very, very, very conscious of this. Maybe not as conscious as they once were today. I don't know where they're holding today. I'm just telling you with what I've heard from one specific teacher, Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Shapira. He was zeichet to learn by the Munkacher's father-in-law, who was the Navi. And he would tell me that when he was by the Munkacher, and when he was by the Navi, Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Safrin, the Kamana Rebbe, they were very, very makpid and conscious of this, that your tikkun hamidais, your level of das, your consciousness affects the next generation.
Before you have kids or?
Before.
So you need to.
So what we need to do is constantly work on ourselves, and every single generation we are bettering. So there's a very natural, Rav Shapira said, there's a very natural thought that comes up when you get married. I'll take the best of how I was brought up and better it, and I'm going to let go of the things I didn't like in my parenting. It's a very natural hirhur that comes up, because that hirhur is allowing you, that fleeting thought, we call it fleeting thought, that thought that comes up is guiding you to realize that we are always wanting to become better and respect the previous generation. And Rav Shapira said, as you become a parent, be humble. You always want your children to be better than you. This is something which is very, very, very important. בבקשה, לא? יש עזרת נשים, אם אתה רוצה להתחיל בעזרת נשים. So we have a stimulus, then we are being metaken the nefesh, and that's going to affect our outcome. And, just to show you, if I could find it, where is it? We're dealing with, just this nice picture, neshama, ruach, and nefesh. But the picture I just want to show you is, if I could find it. Again, we don't want to get bogged down in the words right now. Here. So we have das, and in the movements, the shifts of das, probably the clearest labeling we have are the words of the Baal Shem Tov in Keser Shem Tov Kavchet Bet, Hachna Havdalah Hamtaka. Hachna we can call subjugation, but another word of Hachna is observation. So one shift of consciousness I can observe, Das observes. Another shift of consciousness is I can separate and distinguish, Hachna.
What does that mean in practice?
I can observe that which is going on, and I can distinguish. I can know it is this and it is not that, and I can pull back from it, I can separate by it. By definition, Hachna and Havdalah go together. And another shift of das is I can connect to it. So when I now go into it, I'm not in das anymore, which, just from a Kabbalistic terminology, I now can shift into a state of keser, which is, some call it flow. It's how we start to open up that. And what we want is every single day to work on ourselves, so our everyday normative reactions are becoming better and better and better. Yes?
If you don't have all three, you only have the first two.
What, Hachna and Havdalah?
Yeah. Isn't it very possible that it becomes like a double-edged sword? Because what someone could do, they could observe something, separate from it, and then rather than want to directly sweeten whatever the experience is, they could actually, even go, so to speak, the opposite, and just see like a bitterness within the realm of what they observe. Right?
So
like
that's everything is a risk and everything is a double-edged sword.
Just make it. Yeah? I'm just making sure. I never thought of it that way before, but
it's okay. You're not the only one that does it. I think somebody else does it as well. That's why he may have come up with the experience. Chazde Hashem. But this nakuda, Hachna, Havdalah, and then Hamtaka, and that point is, as you just said, which is, I never thought about it as acutely as this. It is the nakuda of Hamtaka. Hamtaka, we want to sweeten. 100%. Very, very deep sod. Hashem wants us to live well. The Bayer Olam, divine intelligence, wants us to live well. Because the algorithm, the energetic output of living well is far better than living as a miserable so-and-so. We want sweetness. We want goodness. So what we are sharing here, this is not difficult. However, it is different. It seems strange, yet there's a rationale to it, and it's very resonant from a deeper place. This leaves me with questions. What does this paradigm shift do for me in my life? So, by living in a state of das, and by mastering, by knowing about, just by listening, knowing about and mastering this system, what's it doing for me? Is it helpful for me? Can improve my interaction with myself, the world around me? How can I get into this more essential self? It also leaves me with the still answered question. So who am I? I'm acknowledging that this question still lingers, but will allow it to wait while I explore the other questions first. Just as the Rambam uses reverse theology to approach an understanding of what Hashem is by first delineating what Hashem is not, I will understand what I am by first defining what I am not. And this is an incredibly important nakuda as well, that through recognizing what I am not, I come to a place where I can understand what I am more of. Now this point, please remember this. Das is very much related to like Ein Sof. And just as we'll never understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we'll never understand who we fully are. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu gifted us the way He chose to gift us. Why? I don't know. But through peeling away the layers, the true you will become more and more revealed. I think it was Leonardo da Vinci or Raphael that when you're sculpturing, the sculpture's there, you're just peeling away. Michelangelo. You're peeling away. You're peeling away. You're molding, and this very much resonates with Chazal that we are like clay, and the more that, as it says in Pirkei Avos, I can make my will Hakadosh Baruch Hu's will. Hakadosh Baruch Hu will mold me. I'll have insight. Hakadosh Baruch Hu will talk to me. I'll have insight, and I'll be able to become the molded vehicle, the celebrated molded vehicle, to Megala Hashem's light in the world, which is good. It's only good. I better my life. I better the world around me. I better the life of people around me through having that divine and good, healthy connection with the Bara Olam.
Yes, it sounds like it's necessary to do the Hamtaka part.
We will get to the Hamtaka, yes. By definition, the Hamtaka happens by itself. By definition, the more you become conscious and aware, just by having these conversations, Hamtaka starts to happen by itself. Then we have all of these different exercises. Habata. We have, which sounds odd, but the Avedas where we are breathing in Hashem's light and flooding our nefesh with Hashem's light, and specifically maybe focusing it on one midah. We have journaling, breathing. All of these exercises are to do with Hamtaka, visualization, Koyach HaDimyon. And then you have Machshava, his Bainanus. His Baidadus is to do with the Nefesh, talking out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It all brings clarity and all gifts us the ability to experience a greater Hamtaka. And I just want to say, again, which is really important, there is the knowledge, but there's the chevra, and there's the dedication of turning up. There's the knowledge, and this knowledge is important. And as well, there's the friendship, the community, the group that you are learning within. And hopefully that group is growing as well. So in a group with a good chevra who can see and hear you, who can appreciate you, who can hold you, it makes a massive difference. And on a certain respect, the knowledge, if not done with the right chevra, it's only going to help us so much. And it's an avodah, because ultimately we want all humanity to elevate and expand. That's what we want. And remember the ingredients: caring, sharing, supporting and encouraging with good firm boundaries. And with that, Be'ezras Hashem, we will inevitably meet always our truer selves. And there's many of them. We meet our truer selves as a spouse. We meet our truer self as a parent if we have children. We meet our truer self as a child. We have all of these roles. We meet our truer self as an Eved Hashem, which is really all, as we mentioned, Rambam, Hilchos Deis 3, 1, 2, and 3 onwards. And the wanting is, we want the best for people. We want to see good, and we want the best for people. It's not always easy. It isn't. It's like a challenge. We know it's a challenge. But when you're around a community that's speaking a language of just wanting good for people, it makes a big difference. So Be'ezras Hashem, however you've heard what you've heard, we'll take a couple of questions if there's questions, and then we'll break up into our group. You three of you together can talk and just do our check-in. What's the question? What's the check-in? Just what have you heard today? What have you heard? Is there points that you're not clear about? Points that you are clear about? And remember, whatever you walk out with today, hashgacha pratis, you were meant to walk out with it. So any questions before we do our check-in? Yes, sir.
The question is it possible? But is it possible to get to the place of Amtaka without all these exercises of journaling?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Does it happen automatically?
So this was a big, I'll tell you, this was a big deal to Reb Moshe Shapira Zichron Livracha. Reb Moshe Shapira, after a number of conversations, he was one of the youngest Talmidim of Rav Dessler. And he Baruch Hashem, very special Yid. So Reb Moshe Shapira, we have to make sure that we serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to make sure that we are a Merkava to Megale Hashem's light. And what sometimes happens with all of these exercises, we call it an outside-in paradigm in context to an inside-out. Everything is inside out. You have everything inside of you right now. So for Reb Moshe Shapira, he always felt it as a potential danger. Oh, I didn't have my coffee today, so I'm not in a good mood. Oh, I didn't do my journaling today, so my mind is not clear. Oh, I didn't go for my run today, so this, so that. We call it the, I've forgotten what it's called. What's it called? I will not be happy syndrome. So I'm not happy, or I'm not going to be secure until I have the most perfect relationship. I won't be fulfilled until, we do it spiritually as well. I'm not going to feel connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu until I have learned this much Torah. I won't feel fulfilled or secure until I'm earning this much money. So the I am happy syndrome, or the I will not be happy syndrome until, I will not be secure syndrome until. So Reb Moshe was very worried about that, and he saw a lot of people going into meditation and hispaidus and all of these sorts of things, where the tools to grow became a god. People going to 12 steps, a step program, and whether it's good or bad, I'm not talking to whether it's right or wrong. Just understand that. It's very delicate what I'm saying here. But for so many people, they go into the program and the program becomes a new religion. Maybe that has to happen for a period of time. Rabbi Twersky said at times that needs to happen.
So that's like an overdrive on the process rather
It's
than the product?
Yes. And then what happens, if somebody's in good guidance, eventually a person can maybe come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Torah, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes God. So there's this delicate act of using these as a tool, using all the tools as a tool, and they shouldn't become your God. So Reb Moshe was worried about that. Why? Because ultimately you can achieve all of this without anything. But we need external stimuli. Reb Moshe wasn't saying that you don't need external stimuli. You need external stimuli, but that external stimuli needs to occur with Tam V'das. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
How does that make you feel when I say that, by the way? Like, why were you asking the question, if I can ask? You don't have to answer me.
The reason why I was asking the question is I find that I often get distracted with either work or family and don't necessarily have the willpower or the Sitzfleisch to sit down and do those exercises. So if the only way to get there is to actually do the exercises, then I'm wasting my life away.
This is you are speaking Reb Moshe Shapira's words. This is what people fall into. And it's not true. You mentioned the key word beforehand. The only thing that stops us is one thing and one thing only. We forget. Forgetfulness. The Medrash brings that, especially with Amalek. We forget. When we remember and we know how we work within the remembering, everything changes. So, okay. You wanted to share something?
I just wanted to know where the Baal Shem Tov said, I didn't catch the quote,
Keser Shem Tov, Kaf Chet Bet. I'll show it to you afterwards. I can show it to you afterwards. Do you want to go in my office, right-hand side, second shelf up, nearer, not the brown shelves, the metal shelves, there's a Keser Shem Tov, 1 volume Keser Shem Tov. You can have a look at it. You had a question? Did you have a question?
No, I think it will clarify.
Yeah? Okay. So what we'll do now, it's 56, I'm just conscious of the time. What we will do, there's 1 volume Keser Shem Tov. So Be'ezras Hashem, I'm correct, open it up, Keser Shem Tov, Kaf Chet Bet. He brings at the bottom there with Chashmal, a beautiful Torah there. So what we'll do, let's take a couple of minutes and do a check-in. Do a check-in. What did you hear? What do you walk away with? If we are good with the questions.